Well, hello and welcome back to your next episode of your growing and favorite new podcast, With Purpose. I am Ben Hutton, and I am so glad you're here. This podcast is where we take a minute to learn a little bit about business or life, and then plan the week ahead all together and all with a little bit of purpose. This week on the podcast, we are talking about with purpose. Like, what are we doing here? That's the name of our podcast. What is purpose, and what does doing things with purpose really mean? But before we get into that, let me just set the stage with a couple things that I believe, because I think it's really the foundation of why we're doing what we're doing here and how we're doing it. The first thing I believe is that leadership is a privilege, and that actually all of us are leaders. So leadership is really just influence, and all of us have influence in some arena of our life. It may be at work, and that may be like positional authority. It may be in our family. It may be as a member of a soccer team at our high school. It may be as a volunteer at a nonprofit. Regardless of where you are, you have influence, and exercising influence is leadership. And so if that's the case, that's quite a responsibility, and I think we need to be intentional about it. Taking good care of those that are following us, or those that we are influencing, is a big part of why we want to do planning, a big part of why we want to think about the purpose behind what we're doing. Second thing I believe is that business is this tremendous platform for doing good in the world. Personally, I believe that business and the opportunities that it provides to create value in our world, the opportunities it provides to create specific opportunities for people to rise and use the specific skills and gifts that they've been given and create income and earnings for their family that then they can do great things with out in the world. I think that's an awesome opportunity and responsibility. And the more we can think about business as this platform for good in our world and good in our communities, the better off I think we all are, and the better off the businesses. That's a little bit of a controversial opinion, but I think businesses that focus on doing good while they're making money actually make more money and do more good in the long run. And so it's a mutually beneficial relationship there. Third, I think our family and friends should get as much intentional attention as we give to our careers. So I think over the last few years, something I've noticed is people that are planners put a lot of time and effort into planning the tasks that they need to do at work, or making their to-do list for the home projects, or whatever that might be. But the other things in life, hanging out with friends, spending intentional time with our children, having a date night with our spouse, they can be afterthoughts, or we act like they're just going to happen. And I think they need as much intentional attention as everything else we plan for in life. So if those three things are true, those three things that I said I believe are true, personally, I need help and accountability to make sure that I'm following through on those beliefs, that I'm thinking intentionally about the leadership or influence that I have, that I'm looking for ways to use my business as a platform for doing good in the communities that we serve, and that I'm spending the time planning and giving attention to the people and relationships that matter most in my life. And so that's what this podcast is about. That is the purpose behind With Purpose. You know, if we divide our title, With Purpose, into the two words, we might be able to learn a little bit about it as well. So purpose is the easy part, right? It's the why behind what we do. I shared some of this, that I think there are bigger purposes to life than and business than maybe what's evident, and we're going to focus on those things. The other half of our title is with. And I think with is actually a really interesting word, and it's what gives a lot of meaning and depth to this podcast or that title for me because of the different meanings of the word. So let's look at just a few of them. If you look up with in the dictionary, there's actually 10 definitions. I'm going to pull out 4 just to help you think about how broad this word can be and help bring maybe a greater meaning to what we're doing here. So the first definition is essentially accompanied by. So if we think about it in the context of this podcast, it is planning and purpose. Planning accompanied by purpose, which is good. Like we're trying to do both of these things, and we want to keep our purpose in mind, and we know that we need to do a little bit of planning in life. Great. That's cool. The second definition that I like is possessing something. So again, in the context of this podcast, that would be like planning that has purpose. So it like possesses purpose, or purpose that possesses planning, purpose that has planning. So we're thinking about being more intentional there. Has something. Third definition, indicating an instrument used to perform an action. Indicating an instrument used to perform an action. So this is like the tool that we are using, or planning via purpose, or purpose via planning. It's like how we are getting this done. This is the one that I get the most out of, frankly, and where we started with the title of this thing is we want purpose, and the way that we are going to accomplish that is by being intentional with the planning and planning to put purpose into all of the things that we are working on. So planning via purpose. And then last bonus, indicating the manner or attitude. So this is planning with intention, or just being purposeful. So that's a little bit about what I think when I think about with purpose, what we're doing here, what that title specifically means to me, and like what the thrust of this podcast is. It's really about following through on those 3 things that I believe, and doing it in a way that creates action and intention going forward. So with the idea that this podcast is really about purpose and achieving that through planning, we're going to spend a lot of time working on the planning piece of this. But every so often, maybe once a month, every few weeks, we are going to take a little bit of time out. We're going to have an episode focused on the purpose side of this. For some of us, we have businesses that have very defined purpose statements. Maybe some of us as people even have very defined purpose statements or values that we want to live our life by. For those of us that don't, that's okay. We're going to develop some of that together so that as we go through the planning, we have the purpose piece to rely on. So look for some of those episodes coming up sporadically throughout the next few months. So just to get you thinking along those lines, we will have 2 questions on the planner today about purpose and maybe what they will mean to you. But before we get there, I want to remind you of 2 things. One, we have a planner that's built specific for each episode, available to download in the show notes or on our website at benhutton.com/withpurpose. So check that out. And second, a reminder that we always start this planning process with a moment of gratitude. I think it's really important to start from a place that's positive, because a lot of the times when we sit down to do our planning, we are starting from a place of scarcity, fear, exhaustion, and we don't want to plan from that mindset. We want to plan from a mindset of gratitude and recognition of how good things are truly going for us. So with that in mind, what's going on for you? What are you grateful for in the last week? For me, I got to spend some time with a really close group of dear friends this last weekend, and it really filled my bucket. next up, maybe list out some of those things that you are exhausted from or fearful of, that maybe you've been putting off decisions around, and this week you just need to take some steps to move forward on them. All right, now we'll get to our 2 questions for this week about purpose. The first one is, in your work, do you have a purpose? This might be an explicitly stated purpose statement that your business has spent a lot of time creating, or it might just be a belief that you have about your own specific role. Maybe another way to think about this would be, outside of the paycheck that you receive at the end of each week, why do you do the job that you do? Second question for this week is, in your life, what do you value most? How do you want to measure success? Is there elements of faith, income, strength of family and friend relationships? What do you value most? All right, so that's it for today. Like I said, we will continue to talk about purpose on this podcast periodically, and we'll actually use the answers to those 2 questions that you pondered today as fuel for maybe some further thought or discussion on what the purpose in your business is, or the purpose for your own life is later. So I hope you're all having a fantastic week. If you like this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would share it with one of your friends. We are trying to get the word out about what we're doing here. And each week, we're trying to get a little bit better at it. So if you have feedback, leave it in the comments below. Shoot me a text if you've got my number. Email me on the website. There's lots of ways to get in contact with us, but we would love to hear your feedback. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here in another 7 days for a little more with purpose.